Crush your enemies. See them driven before you. Hear the lamentation of women.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Ange.
We're
Nerdazons.
That's not my best, but I tried.
Yeah, you're usually pretty good at that, and I think this is the one time you didn't do so well. But you did well. Like it wasn't like a huge failure. I think mine turned out worse than that.
What's the dread one? That one always cracks me up.
So maybe say it.
Say it. Say it. Say
No,
it.
it's a completely different episode.
Just say it.
I can't.
I'm not looking.
Okay, fine. I am the law.
That cracks me up.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. So this fortnight's my choice. I'm choosing the 1982 Conan the Barbarian versus the 2011 Conan the Barbarian. I'll just start off with plot. So 82 says, a young boy, Conan, becomes a slave after his parents are killed and tribe destroyed by a savage warlord and sorcerer, Thus-la-Doom. When he grows up, he becomes a fearless, invisible fighter. Set free, he plots to revenge against Thus-la-Doom. And the 2011, a vengeful barbarian warrior sets off to get his revenge on the evil warlord who attacks his village and murdered his father when he was a boy. It should have a lot more to that story plot.
Yes.
There was too many in that one.
Yes. But we'll get to that. But well, since we're on the topic, shall we start with story?
Yes. Okay, so I liked the first one.
I agree.
It was very simple, barbarian, just like fighting, gore, blood, woo! And I like that it was super cheesy and that there wasn't even that much blood and gore.
Yeah.
They just slice through. Anyway, going through. And the second one, we were talking about this earlier. This one had like 6, 7, 8, 9 stories going at once. It was very complicated.
I agree. I was telling you just earlier before we started recording, I haven't struggled with a film that we've done for a while. Like I've usually always been one to finish a film, and I really struggled watching this second one. I knew nothing about the remake. To be honest, all I knew was there was one with Jason Momoa, and that was it. And I thought, oh yeah, this could be all right. Like, pretty good action one. And I can't believe how much they changed of the story. Maybe if I hadn't seen the original and realized just how simple that structure was, kind of like our True Grit episode. The original just had a very simple storyline, and that's all it needed. But yeah, this one had, it had the evil sorceress storyline who was killed that they're trying to bring back. You had the pure blood that they had to get, and then you had like the evil guy had a kid as well who was a sorceress. Plus also the one part of this story that I hated the most, why was he born like practically a fighter? By 10 he knew what he was doing, and you missed that whole character journey that I really loved of the original one. He was he was taken as a child. He was a slave. He got stronger by being the last survivor of the people of his village on that turning wheel. I think that's maybe what you'll call it. He was the last one to survive there. So then they put him in a ring, and he had to learn how to fight to live because it was a gladiator situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, he was rewarded with like knowledge and learning, and he became a more skilled fighter, and I liked that journey of him in that. Whereas in this one, it's 25 minutes in and Jason Momoa hadn't even come into it. I paused it and I was like, oh, I wonder how far I am in this film. And it was the kid showing off how, like, the kid was great. Why is he a skilled fighter who came back with 4 heads of like the enemies when other kids, like, they're fighting to become a warrior? They're not even warriors at this point, but this kid was able to do that and keep the egg like from cracking. I don't like that he was already a good fighter. No. Where was the journey of him becoming the barbarian,
Yeah, I 100 million gazillion % agree. I liked the companionship between Conan and Sabotage. Like, I like that they were brothers. They were, they had a tight relationship. You didn't
Yeah,
have that in the second one.
yeah. So it was. I thought it was pretty interesting because when they met, he met him, I guess, on the brink of death, and then it shows them traveling together and fighting together, and they're having a great time together. So you can see, like, it's that whole 80s montage, be it
Yes.
I'm gonna do a montage to get fitter and whatever, or a
Yes.
montage of how you become closer with that other person. So that montage made you think, yeah, they're brothers, they're bonded.
And
But
I love when they're running up the hill and the music is so like whimsical, like they're going on an adventure.
yeah, they're be bonding as brothers. It's cool. But like in the second one, I do remember, yeah, 25 minutes in, it was still the kid. That was a very long, back intro to a worthless story. And then it just opened up with him automatically rescuing this village with his friends. So you didn't even see them really connect. They were
Hmm.
just automatically friends, and you had to sort of believe. Yeah, so you can see Artis. You can tell the actor who played Artis, he really did try his best to make it sound believable that they were brothers, but it didn't come across in the story. And I feel the second one, how it failed, that remake, was the story. They tried to put too much into it.
But there's always, so many one-liners in the 80s versions, and,
Yeah.
it's over the top, so it's really like funny. And I was like laughing so hard at some of the fighting scenes. And with the remake, it was just so flat. And
Yeah.
I just was like, and then they tried to make funny one-liners, but they were just so dumb, and that they were just like, I'll be back kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, it didn't have the over the top energy, I guess, in the
Mm-mm.
80s ones to really show that it is meant to be a funny one-liner. I don't think it would have portrayed well if they did do it in the new one, but yeah, the story was just, it was shocking. And then there were parts of the story, sorry for cutting you off,
No,
but there
that's
were
okay.
parts of the story that I thought it would progress. Like, I thought, okay, yeah, I can see how this is going, that the pure blood should have been taken here. And it took like three sort of occasions, or two occasions, before they actually managed to kidnap her. And they had a powerful sorceress and an army with them. I don't understand. Like, they
And
made him on his own too much against too many.
I put in one of my first comments was, after thousands of years there wouldn't even be a pure blood anymore, like one single pure blood. That was one of the comments I made.
Yeah, it just doesn't add up.
When I was watching the original, I was just thinking to myself, they can't remake this unless they try to make it into a serious action film. And that's kind of what I expected going into the second one. But I can kind of see that they were trying to be a little bit hokey about it. But
Yes.
I don't think this movie needed to be released in the cinema. I don't believe it needed the hype that it was. I think
No.
I don't know, to me, it had like a midday movie feel to it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Can we move on to the characters? I feel
Yes.
like this is where we need to move on to talk
Mhm.
about characters and story a little bit here.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the first one in the 1982.
Yep.
I have to say, one character I fell in love with was Valeria.
Oh yeah, no, I loved her.
I loved her. She was badass.
She really was.
She
She
reminded me of, did you ever watch the Vikings TV show?
No, but I've heard it's amazing.
So there was one character. I only watched the first season or season and a half, and there was one character called Lagartha or something
Mhm.
like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, Viking fans out there. And she was a shield maiden who did know how to fight, and it was cool to see this girl. She was gonna steal. She was gonna like break into places.
Yep.
She's gonna join the fight. Even in the one scene, I thought when they were running out and they took the princess,
Yep.
and she was like watching their back at the back. She was the one
Yep.
protecting them from behind. And then I thought, oh my god, they just left her, and she took out like four guards. And I'm like, this chick is awesome. Even for like the 80s, she ran and kept up with them. That's what I liked about her.
But I did notice that with the first one, there was the story, you couldn't look down and get the story, because it was very visual and there wasn't much words said.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. when he did say something, it was powerful, whereas
Yeah.
this one, he talks way too much.
Yeah, whereas I also think so Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't talk much. The supporting actors
Yeah.
carried the story through. And I think that plays with being the barbarian, he was a slave for most of his life, so he didn't have
Exactly.
that education until just before he was freed. That's when he got given all the scrolls in the prison, and then
Exactly.
he was freed, and then that was it. But and you can tell when Valeria came up, she was with her script. The script was very explanatory, so it explained it for the viewers. So it's like you were like the barbarian as well,
Yep.
and you were learning as he was learning,
Yep.
which was pretty clever, I think, for the script. You're right with the second one, which doesn't make sense again to me. So this kid already knows how to fight at the age of 10, and then when he's left on his
Perfect.
own, he knows how to speak, read, write. He's completely intelligent. I know they tried to play it off with a bit of wit with the pure blood when she was talking, and they tried to play off something about the intelligence of being educated, but it didn't come off that way because he didn't seem uneducated.
Yes, I agree. He didn't. Okay, Arnie was amazing. I
Yeah.
just thought, he knew what the role was. He did such a good job of like overreacting. You can't top a good Arnie film. Jason Momoa, I felt like that if without him, this movie would be completely unknown. And
Yes.
I think that they needed a big name to get funding or whatever. But Jason Momoa was just trash. I'm sorry. He tried to hold, like, he was great,
Yeah.
but I think that the writing was just terrible.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to know what my notes were?
Yes.
My first impressions of the second film,
Uh-huh.
it felt like Game of Thrones crossed with Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first notes I wrote was, why did they make the other tribes sound like animals or sound like orcs from Lord of the Rings? And then I couldn't get that out of my head the whole way. And they even sharpened their teeth and everything like
I
orcs. It
know.
looked very much like that. And
And
then
I thought they were.
they're supposed to be and that was the thing I was messaging my twin when I was watching. I'm like, they're supposed to be the civilized tribes because they were taking over the barbarians, but why did they make them sound so much more worse? And that was my first impression of the film. I just couldn't look past that. And there were so many Game of Thrones references, even the way his dad died. So you know how Jason Momoa in Game of Thrones, his character kills Daenerys' brother by pouring the gold over his head? Well, his dad
Hashtag
died.
spoiler.
If you haven't seen that season, then you're very, very behind. The whole series is finished. There's no spoilers.
Agreed.
But yeah, and then so his dad died this sort of similar way with the iron over his head.
That didn't even click to my head at all.
Oh, I just thought this whole thing was a rip-off of those two series. They rode on the back of Game of Thrones high.
Maybe. Oh, because to me, this seems like such an older film than what it is. So this is pre Game of Thrones, just the whole feel of that. I thought Game of Thrones came out way later.
I'm pretty sure Game of Thrones
Yeah.
came out like 2008, didn't it?
Yeah, but it just seems funny that, that just movies.
The acting seems premature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's their first acting gig before they get into a big thing.
Even Rose McGowan was the same.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to jump into her really quickly. Rose McGowan is a well-known actress.
Yep.
It's not like she's probably like strapped for cash. Why would you take on this role? It was terrible. She was just first of all, it took me a while to realize that it was Rose McGowan.
Yep.
And then I was just like, are you trying to be a character in like Once Upon a Time?
Yeah, okay. I never watched that series, but okay.
Oh, but it's daytime TV. That's how she came off as me.
Yeah. So with Rose McGowan's character, first of all, she's not even in the original. There is a witch in the original who is in it for like 5 minutes.
Yep.
Which I will get to in a moment because I made a point on her. But with Rose McGowan, she's always been in different types of roles, so more sort of strange and quirky, and she's usually done very well in that. But with this one, I feel like she had in her mind how like the type of vibe that this witch was going to bring, but then her dad had a different vibe of what
Yes.
his character was going to bring, and the two of them did not mesh well. She didn't come across as that girl who's like, I'm going to make my dad a god. She looked weird with him.
Like I was expecting like that kind of like evil witch.
Yeah,
And
I just didn't. Yeah, they both had a different view of how their characters were going to go.
completely different
They
directions,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and they didn't even talk about it. It didn't work and it didn't blend well.
I would not have thought that they were related in any way.
No way at all.
No.
But can I just say, this is the only note I made
Yeah.
about the first witch. So before she turns into the monster, when she's with Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Mm.
on the bed, obviously,
Yep.
before she turns into the monster, in the middle of that, I wrote the weirdest sounds this witch is making. That was my exact note. And then she turned into the monster. I'm like, that's even weirder sounds. Like I wasn't expecting that. It was just that was such a weirdly acted scene, and it contributed nothing to the story. She disappeared. That was it. And then he continues on his merry way on his adventure. It just, I'm like, okay, you just want to throw another one of those scenes in there because it's the 80s and why not?
Oh, I wrote down boobs. So many boobs.
Yeah, that was my note when I paused it at 50 minutes and I'm like, oh my God. So he got with the girl in his prison cell. He got with
That was
the
one of the
witch.
funniest scenes to me. And the most like unsexiest scene where he just throws the woman in, he grabs her and he's like tries to put clothes on
I thought
her.
he was going to protect her when he's
Yes,
like, I'm going to copy you.
and then he's like protecting her and then he throws her to the bed.
And then he sits her down.
But everyone can still see, like.
I know, it was like their entertainment, like watching someone in the gladiator ring. Okay, let's watch this in the prison cell. And I'm just like, okay, this is happening.
And again, that contributed nothing to the story.
Nothing to the story. I just find it so funny how delicately he covered her up. And then when she sits down, he just like stares at her chest and pulls the thing away. And
I
I'm
know.
like, what was the point of covering her up? But I think because the narration over Conan's story at that point
Yeah.
is about how he doesn't know if he is a good man or a bad man. It's just what he does to survive. And you can it kind of worked with the story. I understand. He's just surviving. He's getting his rewards, which is, be it women coming into the room, knowledge. He's learning how to read and write. He's learning all the warrior ways. Like it was his rewards in order to stay alive. And I liked that journey. And there's one thing I'll have to say. I did mention it earlier about it's more of a camera shot that I really liked, and how simple, kind of like 80s montage, but it's not really a montage. But this shot just helped speed the story up so quickly. And the original should have done that because it took 25 minutes to speed that story up. When he's walking around and pushing
Yeah.
the
Wheel.
the wheel,
Mm-hmm.
you can see all the other boys who got taken with him, and eventually he becomes the last one there. But with each turn, when the wood comes across the
He gets
camera
older and
shot, he
older.
gets a bit older, be it a teenager, and then to the Arnold Schwarzenegger self, and he's the last one left. And it portrays so much. It shows time has gone forward. It shows that he is the last one of his tribe left, and things like that. And it's done in like a 10-second shot,
Mm-hmm.
How much they should have just done that.
I know. But I want to talk about Carla Zim versus Thusla Doom.
Yeah.
So the two bad guys. James L. Jones, I think he saved this movie. I
Yeah.
love him.
He was so weird seeing him with long hair at first. I'm like, whoa, I'm so
And then
used
the
to your
weird
voice.
eyes. And then when they turned into the snake eyes, I was like,
I have to
whoa.
say though, after watching Dune and seeing the really bad contacts for 1982, his eyes looked real. They looked
Mm-hmm.
believable. It didn't look like fake contacts. They actually
No.
looked like blue eyes. I was like,
Yes.
damn,
And then when he turned into the snake, that was also so good.
that was so funny. I just thought Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
There was a weird scene with James Earl Jones. when it was just Conan and his mum and she's trying to protect him, and I thought, okay, I get it. Conan's there. He's the main story, but I didn't understand why they all just stood there and like they were looking at each other of who's going to be the lucky one to slaughter a woman and a child, big man real. But it just, and then when he came down and he like looked at her and then he stared and they had like an eye to eye contact.
Yeah,
And
they had
then
like a moment together.
I know, and I thought, oh, okay, is she spared? Is she gonna be taken along with the sword, sort of thing? And then he turns his head real slowly and dramatically, almost whimsically, I guess you could say. That's your word. I'm gonna steal that. Turns slowly and then looks back over his shoulder at her. And I'm like, oh, that was strange. And then bam, he killed her. And I'm like, what? I wasn't expecting that.
Neither was I. I was like, what? But he was so good. And I like that he portrayed a bad guy because he doesn't usually portray bad guys.
Yes. Yeah,
And it
that's
was
right.
good seeing him a little bit evil and seeing just young James Earl Jones he was handsome.
I know. I haven't actually seen him as a young actor.
Mm-mm.
So with Carla Zim in the second one, I actually didn't think he was that bad. He seemed believable to me as, I guess, kind of like a tyrant. He seemed like that type of Viking warlord who would go and conquer over all the other little towns and villages. He came across believable. I think it had mostly to do with his costume because he did look menacing. But
I thought it was the old dude from what's his name from Harry Potter.
What?
You know what I'm talking about, right?
There's a lot of old dudes in Harry Potter.
No, the old cleaner guy with the cat.
Oh, Argus Filch.
I thought he was Filch.
That guy is, no offense, is a very scrawny man. And this guy was not scrawny.
Yeah, but I thought he was just in the face.
Nah.
For like a minute, and then I was like, nah, I know you from somewhere.
Nah, I did not.
He wasn't as bad as I was expecting him to be as a full villain. I think he was like a murderous villain, like not a big warlocky type to villain like he was meant to be, I think.
Yes. I think especially with Marique and Carla Zim, one thing that, again, I'm going to bring it back to the story that ruined their characters, in the original, when you had James Earl Jones, it was just alluded to that there's this sorcerer. You didn't see much of it. You just knew he had a massive army. You didn't need to see much of the magic. It was alluded to that there's magic there. He's going to be strong. Whereas this one, they just put so much magic in at the beginning, and it didn't make them seem as powerful.
No, I agree.
The mysteriousness and I guess the reputation is what I'm thinking of. Like sometimes reputation an atmosphere can build. That's it. You summed it up perfectly. That's what I was trying to say.
Also, Ron Perlman was in the remake as Corinne the dad. I did not like him. He didn't seem to give two hoots about his son. He didn't care about Conan. And although I thought it was kind of sweet-ish when the mum was like, I just want to see my baby. And then he just puts his hand there so she can bite on his hand.
I thought that was cute too, that he put his hand there. But that whole scene was a load of crap.
Yes, it was.
Pardon my language.
What I was going to say as well is that, like, how does a newborn baby not come out gross? And where's the umbilical cord? And it just...
I mean, my exact note was, no way she would have survived a C-section like that. Like, he stabbed her abdomen. She was already dying.
No way the baby would have survived.
Yeah, he had a full-on hard, heavy thrust into her stomach. Like, it was so... They should have just started him at age 10, like the original one, not do this whole backstory that he was a man born in battle.
I know, I thought that was... but yeah, I don't know why. I just thought that was genuinely really sweet when he put his hand there for her to bite on.
On that scene, I did also make a note. I found it really silly that it's the middle of a battlefield. There were people still fighting. So because he crawled over to his wife and said, all right, I'm going to let you hold your child. I thought that was cute. The whole birth scene was so unbelievable. But then what he does with a brand new newborn who's the most like delicate at that time, he holds it up like Lion King or something. I'm like, what are you doing? What if someone had an arrow or like something? Like that baby is so delicate, the tiniest thing could injure it, and you're gonna stick it up in the middle of a battlefield.
Oh, no way. Oh.
I know. It's just that ridiculous.
Can we move on to like the fight scenes?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't hate the fight scenes in the remake. I loved the fight scenes in the original though. They were so like over the top and clearly like choreographed terribly, because that you could see that when they're fighting they clearly like miss each other. But and then the sound effects of like the sword click hitting the wooden hammer. Like I
Yeah.
just love that ting ting sound.
Yeah. It
And
reminded me
then
of like classic wrestling, WWE or something. You can
yeah.
tell that for the choreographed fight scene, they had to jump a particular way just so they wouldn't get injured.
And then the over the top, they would have had to obviously make sound effects, but when they're fighting, it's like, and then I just, it was so, I couldn't
Like
help but
when
laugh.
Conan first goes into the gladiator pit and he's like, "Arr, arr," and I'm like, why are you screaming so weird? And then they showed this little bit of blood, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's bleeding now. I didn't know what was happening because it was all covered by the other guy. But I'm actually going to say, I'm going to give the 2011 version the point for the battle scenes. They looked like actual battle scenes. I guess if you were barbarians fighting or pillaging villages and things, I feel like it was more of a realistic vibe. The
Yes,
choreography looked so much more real.
yes, it
I
did.
liked that little villages had defenses put up with like little pike fences and things. They were ready to spring into action, and that just seemed to me what most villages would do. You would have your set warriors who would either go out and get food or they'd be there to protect the rest of the village. And I think that it was really good. It was definitely graphic, and I
Yes.
really disliked all the poor horsey, like the
Oh
poor
my
horse
God.
abuse. How many times did those horses get smacked in the head and their neck would just go snap? And I was just like, why? I don't want to see that.
I, I don't know if, please tell me that's not real.
They
Please tell
were
me
all
that's not,
CGI, like,
thank you.
but yeah, there was one of the big guys who came in the first scene. Someone was charging with the horse, and he just had his
Mm,
big sledgehammer and just went bang right against the horse's like head, and it just did like a complete like 90-degree
yeah.
crack. I was just like, what? And it happened a few times throughout. But along with the battle scenes, the prosthetics were great. Like sometimes
Yes.
when they would stab, you'd see like bits of guts hanging out the back and dangling. And I just thought, you know what? Like you guys get the point for this one for sure.
Oh, the CGI in the original, terrible, especially when James Earl Jones turns into a snake. Like, he puts his arms in, you can see they put him in the sleeve, and then out comes the, like, but I loved that hokey 80s prosthetics and things, but
Yeah,
I think the new one wins for
yeah,
prosthetics and stuff like that. And I think the music in the remake was really well done as well. Like they put really good battle music on when they were in battle
yeah,
versus, the original where Conan's with his mate and they're like skipping almost up the mountain. It's like whimsical music and
yeah.
like just they didn't need to have like the music didn't seem to fit the movie, I don't think.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I agree with that. It's just a shame that the music didn't do enough to really build that second film up. It just, yeah, the story was just terrible. I will give another point though on set design. Some of the set design looked really good, although I feel like it didn't fit with the time. I guess I know it's not a historical film, but if you're going to think historically, it didn't. I like they were in ruins when they were so like they were in and they were barbarians already in villages, and then all the really fancy temples and stuff looked like they were already in ruins. Whereas in
Yeah,
the
I get it.
original, he
It
had his
had more
snake.
like a fantasy vibe,
Yeah,
the
which you would.
remake.
Yeah, no, the original, like they had bright color and things, and you'd see these palaces or these temples where people are worshiping because they're so actively used at that time. They should
Mhm.
be bright and colourful and not in
Mhm.
ruins, whereas it looked
Yep.
like we were in Tomb Raider or the Uncharted game going to like look for treasures when it should be
Exactly.
used at that current time.
Conan's not a fantasy film. It's not fantasy at all. And 2011 says that it's fantasy. That's not, it's barbarians.
Yeah, I
You
mean the
want to see
story is,
pillaging,
yeah, like the story itself is completely fake and whatnot. But
of course.
if you're gonna set it in the time of like barbarians and villages and things like that, at least have everything else set at that time.
Yes,
If
I
I'm
agree.
making sense.
You are.
I know we've talked about most of the majority topics, but I did make a few little notes of some things that I just wanted to make mention.
Mhm.
The intros. I actually really loved the introduction of the 1982, and it overlaid the stories with the story with the narration, but it also showed the making of the sword, and I thought that was pretty cool to watch like a blacksmith at work. Whereas, and this is how I knew I was going to hate this film, I really disliked the intro to the new one. So it showed a clip for about 5 seconds and then it cuts to black, and then it would show another clip for 5 seconds and then black.
Oh,
And
I
you could,
hate when they do that.
it did it so much that you couldn't even figure out what that 5 second clip was. Like it didn't show you enough to pick the pieces of the story, and it just kept cutting to black. And I couldn't understand the entire intro because they kept like
Pausing it
pausing it
for
and
no
you couldn't.
reason.
Yeah, exactly. And I just thought that effect really ruins the introduction of that story, in my opinion.
Oh, I have to say, going to like costumes and all that kind of stuff, I love the fact that the jewels and the stones were just those glass beads that go in your vase.
Yes, I know. I'm like, hey, I've seen them at the bottom of arcade games where they make it
Yeah,
look all fancy, the plastic. I know. I think that was so funny, but you got to use what you've got, and if it
exactly.
works. Also, I laughed at this, and I don't know if you noticed it, but you know, in the original, when Arnold Schwarzenegger needs to get the priest's outfit,
Hmm.
I wrote, "Lol," he honey potted the guy priest because he's like, I'm a little shy, and I'm like, are you trying to seduce this priest? And he did. He honeypotted him, knocked him out, and took his outfit.
I didn't even pick up on that. That's great.
I did. I thought it was so funny. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious.
I have to say though that I love how Conan and Valeria fell in love so quickly. Like it was just like, here, have my stone. Okay, take you to the bedroom. Oh, now we're together.
No, I kind of could see why they did, because she was able to fight beside him, and I think he saw that and he was like, yeah, because it was always just girls that were given to him, whereas she was a girl who could fight with him, and I
Yeah,
think you could see I could see the immediate attraction between the two.
I guess I don't know. I did like Valeria and I did like Sandal the actress, but then I'm looking back and I'm like, it was hokey as well, and I don't think I felt like that in that scene.
Oh, I liked them very much. And you could see they tried to bring that element in the new one, because Jason Momoa was like, Sumerian women dressed in armor, go and put armor on. It's like, you can't make her a warrior just to like her, you know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
whereas she was a warrior, Valeria, and that's why they got
Yes.
together. And that's what I liked about them. I just want to say, like, a special shout out to Marco the Wizard in the original. That's Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and
Is it?
he did the voice of Aku in Samurai Jack cartoons. I really like him, and I just wanted to say he was in it.
Sorry, really quickly, I want to say like the scene where he finds the princess and they're fighting with the horses. I thought that was a beautiful scene as well. At the very beginning when she tries to when they try to capture her for the first time.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was well shot, but I just, again, I feel that entire film, I just felt like I was watching other films. It seemed like the Robin Hood movie, you know, where they're stealing from the rich, and it just, that's what it felt like to me. I didn't feel like I
Mhm.
was watching a Conan the Barbarian film.
Nah, I wanted more barbarian.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this, but it definitely annoyed me. Well, no, I use that word too much, but it definitely played on my mind when I finished the film, and it was the first thing I said to my partner.
Mhm.
At the beginning, when they introduce you to Conan, he's in snow, right? His whole civilization wear wolf
Mhm.
skin
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
whatever animal pelt.
Fur and yep.
Yeah, they wear it. He knows the area. He knows the snow. At the end, he goes back, and it's like a paddock, open paddock in the sun. He doesn't even need a shirt. He hasn't got his shirt on at that point, and he's supposed to have found his old home.
That was one of the comments I made as
The
well.
seasons
Since
didn't line
when
up.
since when did barbarians live in the desert?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could have barbarians in whatever like climate, but it just didn't make sense that you went from you're a snow tribe to a desert tribe or like something along those lines. And
I
he even
agree.
still had fur around his waist, but he didn't have a shirt on, so it was just like, what?
Oh, I have to say though, rewatching True Lies, I had the biggest crush on Arnie. I was like, oh man, I wanted to be Jamie Lee so bad.
I mean, when you think about that scene now, it doesn't age well.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't at all. And that movie does not age at all.
It was a good film. I liked it when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
but it's not appropriate at all to watch
No,
now.
I definitely love, peak Schwarzenegger action films. They were really good.
I've been told that during the break I need to watch
Predator,
a Predator and
Last Action Hero.
Last Action Hero. Okay, they're going on my list.
Yes.
All right. So, how many movie reels do you give the 1982?
The 1982. All right. I'm going to give that one a 3.5. I liked it. It was great. I'd watch it again. Maybe not, straight away, but I would definitely watch it again. I thoroughly enjoyed the story. Yeah, I'm going to go 3.5.
Okay, what about the
Point 5.
2011? Okay, I didn't even have to finish my sentence.
I struggled to finish that one. Through I get it that I said the fight scenes were great, but even during the fight scenes, that was when I sat there towards the end and thought, wow, I really can't get through this story. I'm struggling.
I got bored so hard.
Seven times,
And
right?
I don't know, I just there was so much going on that I'm like, what? Who's going on? What's this movie even about? And
Yeah.
then having Conan be completely pointless in the end of the story. You know, they didn't even need him. They just wanted the princess.
Yeah.
So, 1982, I'm also giving it 3.5. Will I watch this movie again? Heck, yes, I will. If I'm just want something to make me laugh at the end of the day, I'm going to put this on. This is one of my top Arnie films.
Yeah.
Although I haven't seen many, I've only seen his classic from like Twins onwards.
Yeah, no, you need to watch more of his
Okay,
action.
okay, yes. Whereas the 2011, I'm probably gonna give it a point 0.5 as well. Don't mean to copy, but it was. I mean, Jason Momoa couldn't even save that movie.
Right?
And as you're saying, this was after Game of Thrones, which
Mm.
is real popular. He was amazing in that series. He played a barbarian so well.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Whereas this movie, ugh, yep, point 0.5.
I just really quickly, I did read something really interesting. Guess how much budget the original one had?
Oh, I'm gonna say like 500,000.
No, so it had a lot more. It had a budget of 16 million, and guess how
Oh,
much it made box office worldwide?
I'm gonna say like 100 million.
Not quite, 70
Oh,
million. So
oh,
from
that's not bad.
16 million to 70 million is a huge,
That's a
huge
huge
profit.
profit.
And then guess how much budget the remake had?
16 million.
90 million. They had a
90.
bigger budget than what it made on the box office. And guess how much it made on the box office?
I'm gonna say like 40 million.
Close, 50 million.
They only made 50 million.
And they had a budget of 90 million, whereas the original had a budget of 16 million and made 70 million. They definitely got its profit.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I can see why this is on the top of the most hated remakes. Because that's also what got me onto this film is that, hey, when I was looking for choices, I was looking on the internet looking for different ones that we could compare, and it brought up top 50 of the worst remakes, and Psycho was on it.
Yeah.
What was the other one that we did?
Charlie's
Angels was on it.
Yep.
And like all of these ones, I'm like, yep, seen it, yep,
Okay.
done it, yep,
Out
done
of
it.
those three, Psycho ranks the best. I would watch Psycho again over Conan and Charlie's Angels.
You can't watch Charlie's Angels over the other two.
Nah, I would probably go Psycho, Conan, Charlie's Angels. I still think Charlie's Angels is the
Wow.
worst remake I've ever had to watch. They're all very close, but if I was forced to watch them in order, I'd do it that way. At least Psycho has a better storyline.
That was just okay.
Because like Psycho's storyline was the point we made. It was an exact copy. So at least you know you're watching that story. Conan's storyline changed. Charlie's Angels storyline changed. At least with Psycho, I know what I'm watching. And I'd get my story.
Yeah, no,
They're all bad. But if I was forced to watch it in that order, that's the order I'd go.
So we are both at 0 points.
Yes.
So what do you think? What do you think the Conan the Barbarian 1982 got on Rotten Tomatoes?
All right. Now I really have to think. So I know it holds with the generation that watched it. Whether or not the current generation can see its true potential is a different story. I'm going to go...
My lips are so sealed here. I'm just like,
78?
Close. Lower. I'll give you half a point if you can get it. It's lower.
Like significantly lower?
No.
This is so much hard. There's pressure with this. I'm like Tweak from South Park. Too much pressure. 76.
Under pressure. No, 66. However, the audience score gave it 74%.
Yeah, okay. I can see that because that's about where I'm feeling, like in the 70s. Okay. All right, the second one. Now this... Second
one.
I'm going to go 23%.
Oh, so close. Higher.
Do I go by one or do I go by a couple? 24.
So close. It got 25%. No. And guess what the audience... Okay, I'll give you half a point if you can guess what the audience score is.
13.
Nah, it actually got higher than the tomato meter. It got 30%.
I don't think it deserves 30%.
No, it doesn't.
I think it deserves 13.
I agree. It was terrible. It was.
So what was the tomato meter for the remake?
25.
Okay. Which do you think was worse out of all three? Psycho, Charlie's Angels, or Conan?
I'm going to say from our conversation, Conan.
Yep.
Then I'm going to say Psycho. Then I'm going to say Charlie's Angels.
Yeah. I was shocked, and I feel like this has changed. I feel like I need to go back and re-listen to our episode of Charlie's Angels because the tomato meter for that one got 52%, and I don't remember it being that high.
Well, the audience score got 78%.
I don't remember them being that high. And no,
neither do
the tomato meter for the Psycho 98 was 39%. I'm pretty sure that was also a little bit lower too.
Interesting.
I mean, like it's based on votes, so
they
could get reviewed at any time. But at the time of our recording, this is what they are. So,
all right, let's move on to
Nerdazon's Nerdy Notables.
So I've been watching a show on Stan called Pen 15.
Yep.
And it's about two 30-year-olds who play 13-year-olds back in 2000s.
Okay.
So they're trying to find who they are and biggest losers at school, and they've got braces, and it's just so funny. And so they get invited to one of the cool girls' house,
Yep.
and they're over there, and the girls are like, the boys will be here soon. And then they go, oh, that effing Aaron, he's so hot for an 8-year-old. And you're just like,
Oh my God.
And then they're all excited because Bewitched is coming to town. And
Oh my gosh,
and
yeah.
then they're like, Mom, get off the phone because I need to talk to my friends on AIM. And
Yeah, can relate.
it's kind of big mouthy.
Yeah, I can see how that would play out.
It's very funny though. And then my niece is obsessed with Steven Universe, so I've been watching a bit of
I
Steven
love
Universe.
Steven Universe.
Yeah.
I love lots of cartoons. For me, not really much for me this fortnight. I did start Chapel Wait with Adrian Brody. Finally,
Is it good?
It's much better so far than what were the other ones that I started? The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass. So far, this one is better, like more scarier. Quicker on. So I've only watched 2 episodes in, and I just think it's got more of that adrenaline hit for a horror film.
Would I find it scary?
I think you'd find it a little bit more jump scary than The Haunting of Hill House. That one, that was good, but it was
And Chapel Wait has also got Stevie Budd from Schitt's Creek in it.
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen Schitt's Creek?
No, we've gone over this many times. I tried it once years ago. I didn't like it, and everyone tells me watch from season 2, but I can't be bothered going back to rewatch it. So
good. Oh my gosh, I watch it. It's my comfort show.
That's
how
me.
You are to
and
Archer.
South Park.
That's exactly what I was going to say. How you are to Archer is to Schitt's Creek.
I've actually been rewatching a lot of South Park lately. I've just been re-binging it. That used to be my study material back in high school, South Park, before I knew Archer even existed.
Simpsons over South Park.
No, I was always a South Park gal.
And it was always The Simpsons.
But
anyway,
yeah, that's it from me.
Okay, I want you to make me a promise.
Okay.
I know we're recording early, sorry, but I want you to finish the watch, please, before we next record.
Yep. Okay, Steph, I will finish it. I think I've got 2 episodes left. It's on my to-watch list. I'm trying to just before my studies start at the end of FYI, we are recording early, but before my studies start, end of January, beginning of Feb, I'm trying to get as many of the things that I have had saved in my to-watch list, plus all the movies and things that we've had to watch to try and do all these episodes ahead of time. I'm trying to enjoy it while I can. Oh, no.
Are you not enjoying the watch?
No, I am. I'm saying I'm trying to enjoy my free time.
I know, but I'm finish it so I have somebody else to talk to about it.
Okay.
And RuPaul's Drag Race is starting soon.
Yeah, I'm the wrong person to talk to, even though I got you hooked on that show.
I know.
So, our March episodes, I have chosen, surprise, surprise, the first book of the year. I'm doing Crazy Rich Asians, book to movie.
Awesome. I kind of want to jump out of my comfort zone and
Please pick a horror. Please pick a horror. Please pick a horror.
I was actually thinking between 3. So I might get you to choose from the 3.
Oh my God. Okay, collaboration.
Yeah, so my 3 are. So my choices are either Invisible Man, It,
okay,
or Pet Sematary.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to pick the one that I really want. I'm going to pick the one that I'm going to force you to watch that you've been talking about for so long. It. Only because I know you've been saying for so long, I really want to do It. And that's not one that I want to do because I'm not in the hype of It. But I'm going to make you do it for your own choice.
Okay, fine. For my own choice, I'm going to do It.
Because you keep mentioning it, and otherwise you're never going to do it.
No, my heart's pounding out of my chest because I have such a fear of clowns.
Oh, I don't. That's scary.
And also, I am dying I told you before about how my cat went down the drain and its legs were hanging out, and then it went under. So you'll never see me walk over a drain. I never walk over them. So I'm legit pooping my pants.
Oh my
but
gosh.
it'll be so much
I
fun.
don't want to make you scared.
Nah, but
Okay.
if only
You have been talking about
I
this one
have.
for so long.
I
It's
have.
never been on my list of
Yep.
horrors to do,
Okay.
so I'm going to make you
I'm
do
getting
it.
excited about it now.
Pet Cemetery is on my list. I've been trying to figure out where I can do it. I will maybe pick it at some point this year.
I kind of wish that it wasn't COVID, so then you could come over for a sleepover and watch the horror.
Well,
Maybe we
you
could
never
watch it
know. We
together.
might be able to.
You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook under Nerdazons. You can send us an email at nerdazons@outlook.com. You can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get your podcasts.
We also have merch drawn by the amazing Craftcaster. So head over to Teespring and check that out.
Until then, stay nerdy.